you had this like near death experience, which I can imagine would be like super crazy and challenging. And then you went through this whole journey of healing. Could you share with us like a little bit about what happened? Because you're talking about bringing light to darkness. I feel like that's a really clear example for people of like going through something so challenging, but you managed to find this way to like be light through it somehow and bring that out. So, what would you want to share about that for people, especially those that might be going through something at this time?
Yeah, absolutely. From one perspective, I feel that all suffering is a form of purification. So, in some form, um, where you go through intense physical, mental, emotional, intellectual suffering, it's very deep form of purification, and it's a release that's happening. It's like when you get fever, you feel uncomfortable, but that's your body's way of fighting the virus, and you're purifying, I feel. So there was a lot of suffering because I had a bad motorcycle accident, and without getting into details, I got away by the skin of my teeth, and I got really lucky. My injuries were just a cracked scapula, which took me a couple of months to heal. But it was a very intense period and a very intense episode. And this was the second near-death experience I've had. One was when I was a kid. I was in my early 20s and I almost drowned. And I got saved by a fisherman. And I was lucky. But this actually gives me a new lease to life, and gives me more of a motivation to do what I can do, which is be of service in some form and see what modality I can use to do that, whether it's directly or indirectly, whether it's influencing the influencer or influencing just somebody to do good, or mind my own actions, because I myself am not free of any of these afflictive emotions or character defects. I have all of them, and in massive measures. So, it gave me a very strong motivation to not just understand how I can choose to be the best version of myself, the most evolved version of myself, and there's no limit to that. There's no limit to being good or evolved. There's no limits to this. So it's, you can be the most incredible human being on the planet till you're not,
Right.
So you have to keep doing that every day. And that's a good ambition to have, is to be the best version of yourself constantly and consistently, because I can do that for 30 days in a row. And the 31st day, I can choose to be, not so kind or not so mindful or just be very ignorant. Because I think all those who also cause suffering onto others are doing so out of ignorance, not because they're bad people. So I think the difference between, the doers who are good and the doers who are causing suffering is just ignorance and awareness. You understand the consequences. So, yeah, it's just cause and effect, and, just assets and liabilities where karma is concerned. And yeah, it was intense, but I think that it just made me a more motivated human being. And I realized that life can just go in a second, and how fragile life is, and how uncertain it is. One of the sufferings that they speak about in Buddhism is uncertainty and things that are subject to change. And death can come anytime, anytime. So this is the present, being in the present and really seeing what we have and having gratitude. Gosh, that's the most important thing. We forget, we always look at what we don't have and what we, what we want and what we can have. But if we just take an inventory of what we have, my body is fine. I can work out. I can run. I'm back to being who I was. I'm extremely grateful, So it taught me to be very grateful again and understand that, look, this present moment is everything. Because I don't know what might happen in 2 hours or in 24 hours. So at the end of the day, this moment here to share what I'm sharing with you and to have this privilege is, I think, a highlight. It's very special. So yeah.
Wow. Well, thank you for taking the time to share
Mm.
and for being here and being a catalyst of change, because you are a catalyst of change in so many ways
Thank you.
through your consciousness, through everything that you're sharing, the wisdom, and also through the amazing work that you're doing, not only as an entrepreneur in your businesses, but also in sharing that and doing service in the community, which is like so key. And I feel like if more and more people, especially people who are business owners or have this entrepreneurial spirit, hear that and see that, they may get inspired and say, maybe we can do something philanthropic. Maybe we can look in our community and see, like, where is there a need? Because it's all over the world. It's here in New York. It's in Toronto. It's any city in the world. There's a need. There's someone that could use some additional support. And so if someone has something, why not share it? Why not see ways that you can make a difference in the community and where you are? And you're doing that, which I feel like is so inspiring and is a great example of how you can integrate this wisdom, to not only have it, but actually act on it and be it and embody it, which is so powerful. We have a final question that we ask all of our guests, and it is, if you could be a catalyst of change for one thing in the world right now, what would it be?
Mental health.
Very clear.
Yeah, mental health. I would love to be able to facilitate modalities and awakening and connect people to understand the true nature of their own minds, nature of reality, and how what they're going through is completely impermanent and subject to change and can change. So I think that this is something that affects everybody, no matter where you are, whichever walk of life you come from, whatever socioeconomic background. So yeah, I think I would love to be able to do that, introduce people to systems and technologies and modalities and ways that could really, transform them. We did this amazing teaching with, I work with a company called EF and Go Ahead, and they're a fantastic company based out of Boston, and they do like student travel. And so I work with like these 120 Ivy League kids. We did a little wonderful trip for them in India, a cultural holiday, but I also did a 3-day workshop with a Buddhist monk who actually taught them how to work with fear, anxiety, stress, depression, use analytical meditation to, you know, let go of what they're carrying and their resentments and their traumas and all of that. And this was fantastic. Massive job satisfaction for me. So yeah, if I could do that on a large scale level, wow. For all beings, that would be the catalyst of change I would want to be.